Imagine this. The Atlantic Ocean no longer divides allies, but enemies. The United States of America, the most powerful military force on Earth, declares war on the European Union, a coalition of 27 nations armed with cutting-edge technology and centuries of history behind them. For decades, they stood as partners, trading, defending, building a shared order. But what if one day, that alliance shattered? This isn't just politics. It's survival. And the world would never be the same. In this alternate timeline, the United States no longer views Europe as a partner, but as a threat. Diplomacy collapses. Treaties dissolve. NATO is gone. The US declares war on the European Union. It is a scenario almost unthinkable. But let us imagine, step by step, what such a global fracture would mean. First, the raw power. The United States fields the world's most advanced military. Over 1.3 million active personnel, with another 800,000 reserves. Its arsenal includes 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, fleets of advanced stealth bombers, thousands of tanks, and an unmatched nuclear stockpile. The European Union, while fragmented across nations, collectively matches this strength. Combined, the EU commands nearly 1.5 million active troops. Its navies patrol the Mediterranean, the Baltic, and the North Sea. Its air forces include Eurofighter Typhoons, Rafales, and F-35 shared under NATO agreements. Economically, both giants are nearly equal. The United States with $27 trillion in GDP. The European Union with $19 trillion. Two titans, capable of sustaining long wars. This isn't a conflict between unequal powers. It is a clash of civilizations. In reality, the United States and the European Union have been the strongest of allies since World War II. Together, they created NATO to contain the Soviet Union. Together, they fought in Afghanistan, in the Balkans, against terrorism. Never before have these two powers stood on opposite sides of the battlefield. And yet, history reminds us, alliances are fragile. The Roman Republic once allied with Carthage, until they burned each other to ash. France and Britain stood as bitter enemies for centuries, before becoming allies today. Power shifts. Loyalties break. And in this timeline, the unthinkable becomes reality. The war begins not with missiles, but with silence. Trade halts. Sanctions crush markets. Europe closes its ports to American goods. The United States retaliates by seizing European investments. The world economy collapses overnight. Then, the first shots. The Atlantic, once a bridge, becomes a battlefield. American submarines hunt European shipping lanes. French and German destroyers clash with American carrier groups in the North Atlantic. The first casualties are civilian, as global trade grinds to dust. Air superiority becomes the next battleground. American stealth bombers launch from bases in Virginia, striking airfields in Spain, Italy, and Germany. Europe retaliates, unleashing squadrons of Typhoons and Rafales, striking US bases in Greenland and targeting NATO sites now under American control. Skies burn with dogfights not seen since World War II. And then comes the ground war. If the United States attempts invasion, the beaches of Europe become the first line of defense. D-Day reversed. American Marines storm the shores, but this time, Europe fights back with modern armor, missiles, and united armies. But the United States is not invincible. Thousands of miles from home, with supply lines stretched thin, American forces bleed resources. Europe fights on its own soil, with its own people. And looming over it all, the nuclear question. Both powers possess nuclear weapons. The United States, over 5,000 warheads. France, nearly 300. And though small in comparison, Europe's nuclear arsenal is enough to devastate American cities. Would either side dare to cross the line? History tells us, nuclear standoffs rarely end in fire. But in a war this total, no line is sacred. While the giants destroy each other, the rest of the world watches and chooses sides. China, seizing the moment, expands across Asia unchecked. Russia, once contained by NATO, now pushes west, exploiting the chaos. Africa and South America fracture under economic collapse. The world order disintegrates. Billions suffer as famine, energy crises, and refugee waves overwhelm the globe. Civilization itself teeters on the edge. So what if the United States declared war on the European Union? The result would not be victory. Not for America. Not for Europe. But a shared descent into ruin. Allies turned enemies, tearing apart the order they once built together. It would mark not the rise of one power, but the fall of both. And the world we know today would vanish. But this question leaves us with something deeper. If the strongest alliances of our age can collapse into war, what truly holds our world together? And if not the US versus the EU, then what if the next war comes from within?